Everyone, it's the Rad Dad Chad here, where I'm always going to be sharing my life lessons with you so you can learn from my mistakes. Today, I want to share with you what I thought was a healthy habit, but turned into a three-headed addiction beast. A few years ago, I got this Fitbit watch. I got it for fun. I didn't think anything of it. I justified getting it because it's supposed to encourage healthy habits. I've always been a healthy person, I think, and I've always been active, and at first I never had to force myself to get any steps in. On average, I'm getting 20,000 steps a day, no problem. At the end of the week, I'm getting between 140,000 steps in. And then a couple of things happened. Gwendolyn was born and coronavirus hit. Usually the steps I would get walking back and forth between my office and the courthouse diminished greatly because I wasn't going there as often. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I started to feel this pressure to get these steps in. And it wasn't a pressure at the beginning of the week. It was more of this guilt at the end of the week. It would tell me things like, oh, it's Saturday and you've got to get another 25,000 steps in today, or else you're not gonna get your 120 to 140,000 steps. Now, if you could relate to any of this, anything I'm saying in this video, please leave a comment down below. And then last week, this happened, and I found myself in a predicament. What was I going to do? And originally when I was going to make this video, it was just going to be about how my band broke and how I was upset about it. But I realized that I have an issue. I have a problem. And the question that kept on coming up in my mind was, do I have a healthy habit or do I have an addiction? And when does a habit become an addiction? I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I don't think you need to be an expert to realize this. Whenever that habit becomes unhealthy, that's when it becomes an addiction. But you may be saying to yourself, you're taking your steps in, you're watching your health, you're monitoring yourself, you're making sure you're active. How's that unhealthy? It wasn't about that. It was about the mental health. It was about the decisions I was making in life in order to get these steps in. It was about the fact that I would wake up in a panic on a Wednesday morning because I didn't have enough steps in. It was about the fact that I would literally think to myself, I need to weigh an option. Do I spend more time with Gwendolyn or do I get more steps in? It's like I find this addiction making me struggle to make the right decision. I shouldn't be putting this addiction on the same level and category as Noelle and Gwendolyn. It's like it's taking on a life of its own. Like it's like another child of mine, and I've got to feed it. I got to, if it doesn't eat, it cries. Just like Gwendolyn would cry if she doesn't eat. And she's a good crier. Oh my goodness, she's such a good crier. Everybody's situation's unique, everybody's situation's different. I just want you to know that you're not alone. If you think it's just weird, like I thought, it's like, man, it's so weird. Maybe somebody will get something out of this. Maybe somebody will hear this and it'll speak to them in some way. I kind of felt ashamed and embarrassed to kind of share that with y'all, because it just seems like the right answer is to say, Noelle and Gwendolyn are always number one in my life. So when I tell you there's this other child that I have and it's called steps, or walking is just as important as Noelle and Gwendolyn, no one wants to admit that. No one wants to admit that they have these issues and these problems, and that they're not perfect, and that they struggle with things. But I'm gonna admit that to you because, and I'm gonna say this over and over again, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm gonna share those with you because I want you to know that it's okay to not be perfect. And I know there's probably things that you struggle with too, that you think to yourself, everybody's gonna think it's foolish for me to say this. Everybody's gonna think that I'm less of a person if I admit to these things. Well, you're not less of a person, and we all struggle with these things. And the reason why I wanna say to watch out for this is because it crept up on me. It wasn't like all of a sudden, 1 week into it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna become an addiction and I'm never gonna live it down. And I think if I had to take a guess, I think what happened was that I would, over years, every week I would look back and I'm like, oh, 120,000 steps this week, 140,000 steps this week. That just became the norm, and not doing it just feels abnormal. It feels weird. All right, so what's the solution to my problem? I don't know off the top of my head. The solution isn't gonna come overnight because the problem wasn't made overnight. But let me tell you some steps that I'm taking. And you can leave a comment down below and maybe talk about some of the steps you're gonna take too, and whatever it is that you're looking at. So, one thing I can do is I can get up maybe 20 minutes earlier each day, and I can just take a nice little stroll for 20 minutes. Another thing I can do is, what I've done already is on the watch I've taken off the number of steps showing whenever I look down at it. So that way I don't have this constant reminder of the failure that I am for not getting in all the steps. And I don't have this constant pressure on me. Those are just a couple of the steps that I've taken. I've also tried to make it a priority to spend some time with Noelle and Gwendolyn every day. I don't think the feeling that I have and what I'm struggling with is going to disappear immediately. I do feel that I'm taking a step in the right direction. If you got anything out of this video, please like the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. I hope that you have the most amazing day.